marketing, entrepreneurship, and all things small business. You're listening to the Jurassic Marketing's Tricera-talks. Now, here's your host, Justin Miller.
Man, that is a long dinosaur roar.
That is. Getting used to that new intro?
No. All right, we have made it to episode 57.
It's like a lifetime.
Just under 4 or 5 years.
Has it been that long?
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's been a while. So episode 57, this is called A New Day Has Dawned.
Oh, sure.
That sounds like it with the dinosaurs and
they're still there.
birds chirping.
I like the tribal drums, too. Very nice.
I don't know who's playing them.
I don't either, because there probably weren't any people around, but what do we know? We don't know. Who knows? This you must have paid extra. This guy went out. It's like 2 minutes of trail at the end there. It's very nice.
Sometimes you got to pay for time.
It's true. Sometimes you just got to pay for what you want.
Now, we're going to talk about the aftermath of stardom here. So we're going back to the Iowa basketball, Kevin.
Oh, Iowa women's hoops.
Yeah, so I'm sitting with the press pass in front of me for the 24-25 Iowa women's basketball season. And you were at a game yesterday. And I haven't been to a game this season yet. And the question is, hey, the superstar is gone. Now what? So Caitlin Clark, no longer with Iowa, was there all season last year, the big star, moved to the WNBA. But collegiate athletics must go on for the University of Iowa.
Yep.
So before we dig into some pointed questions, how many games have you been to so far this season?
Two.
Okay.
They've had 4 home games. I've been to 2.
Yes. So has there been a market difference from a fan standpoint, like attendance, like excitement, like what's it like?
Attendance is oddly the same. They sold out season tickets this year. Last night, I saw maybe a handful of empty seats.
Which was abnormal, right? Like they didn't sell out before Caitlin Clark.
No, they didn't sell out till her junior year. So this will be the 3rd year in a row I believe they've sold out.
Okay.
I noted when I went and double checked my tickets because I have season tickets. I sell them all because I'm working. But the price increase even this year was so minimal that I would be like, I didn't even notice it hardly. No, the crowds are pretty good. I think they're still very excited. There's not the biggest difference I noticed is after the game, there's not 2,000 screaming girls and young boys by the tunnel to try to get an autograph. There are 50 kids trying to get Hannah Stuelke or Lucy Olsen's. So that's the huge difference from just the ability to get off the court back to the press room doesn't require 15 minutes like it did last year.
There's much security as there was last year.
Yeah, our boy's still there. He's still packing, and he's still there. I talked to him last night, and I said, "Hey, Justin and I were just talking about you." He's like, "Yep, I'm the same old." But he says it's a little less stressful this year. It's just a little less stressful. But yeah, the enthusiasm is still there. I think because the university and the new head coach have manufactured it, they've taken advantage of. Hey, we're selling out again. We got the number 3 scorer in the country last year out of the transfer portal. I mean, Lucy Olsen is no Caitlin Clark, but she'll probably be a first or second team All Big Ten. So she's the star, but it is the cheers are loud, but I don't know if they're as loud. I don't know if that's in my mind. I just am like, well, nothing could beat last year, so I don't know. But crowds are excited. The girls still want to get autographs. The freshman class seems to be like. I saw people wanting to take pictures with the freshman girls.
Interesting.
So I don't know. I mean, do I think now women's basketball? I will tell you, I did check with the SID, and the average attendance at a men's game so far this season is like 6,800 in a 15,000 seat arena. The women's are averaging like 14,700 on a sellout. So I mean, what does that tell you? And the men's tickets are probably twice as much still.
Yeah, and I, off the top of my head, wasn't even thinking that, the head coach shifted as well.
Yeah, new head coach. But she had been there. Jan Jensen had been. She went to Drake. She coached with Lisa Bluter at Drake. She has been with Iowa for, 15 years or whatever. So it seems, I will tell you, you would notice this, like press conference later, much more talkative like me versus you. Lisa Bluter would be you, and you're like, I'll get to the specifics. Jan Jensen's like me. She'll talk to you for a half an hour. I mean, I'm like, nobody ask any more questions. I want to go home. Like, she will just go on and on and on. But yeah, it doesn't seem to be a whole lot different. And they're spinning it, the university, and she will spin this as we have built a program here, and all we're doing is just transitioning it. Yes, we don't have Caitlin Clark anymore, but we're still here, and we're still one of the top programs in the country.
Yeah, so this is interesting, and I don't know if they were before or not, but certainly they, as far as the public goes, and if you want to look from a business standpoint, it wasn't what it is now. So certainly, you know, they recruited Caitlin, right? Mm-hmm. Like a promising all-star player, even in high school, from what I saw. So yes, they got an A player on their team, if you will, and did absolutely amazing things and put them back on the national radar at a level never seen before. I think I can safely say that for the university, probably for almost anyone's for that particular sport. And now we have a shift, though, because the game goes on. And this is, from a business lens, this is HR, and this is business evolution and growth. So we lost a superstar. Mm-hmm. Not because they necessarily quit or were fired in HR terms, but they grew beyond, which does happen.
Yep.
We got new team members, which I was telling you, like, I need to get up to speed on who's who before I can even go right.
Yeah, there's a lot of new names.
So we got new games. We got a new head coach, which would be the equivalent of a GM, I would think, in business. New coach, new talent. New roles for existing team members.
Yeah, they've shifted a little bit. I mean, they and some of the players from last year who were not superstars last year, like Addie O'Grady, who was the most timid center ever last year, she's like averaging 20 points a game and playing like she looks completely different. And I talked to the SID about that. He's like, she just like lived in Caitlin's shadow last year. She was only a junior. She's developed, but she just now knows that if she wants it to be, it can be her team now. I mean, I would think as much as you love playing with Caitlin Clark, you could have the propensity to just sit and watch her play when you're on the court with her. Like you can get lost in like watching your teammate
head
play
with a basketball doing that.
Yeah, true. So I don't know.
But even on TV, I can see that some of the girls have a different confidence about them and have stepped up from a leadership standpoint.
True.
Like they've stepped into that role.
Well, I think part of it too could be, I don't mean ego per se, but when you're an athlete like that, you like want your chance. Now it's my turn. And there's still people here watching. It didn't go from 15,000 to 5,000. So like, why wouldn't you want to take charge? Everyone's watching you.
Yeah. And that was the big question was everyone just going to kind of jump ship that was on the bandwagon? Yeah. Certainly they joined the bandwagon. I joined the bandwagon, right? Like yes. I wasn't watching that sport before.
It became bigger than people who liked college basketball.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Now, will it still? And I think the thing for Iowa, and we talk about like business, it isn't just you lost an A player. You lost potentially the greatest A player in the history of the sport. And will you ever see another one? I don't know. So Iowa could recess or regress to like maybe where they were, or you could continue to be one of the best college programs in America and still not be anywhere near where you were with Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, look, they have recruited players they probably couldn't get before.
Yes.
Because of the spotlight.
Have you seen some of the recruits they're getting for the next couple classes? They signed someone yesterday from California who's like the number 5 rated high school kid for next year. That wouldn't happen 3 years ago.
No. And the fans have stuck, which impresses me. I still have, an interest, not the same as last year, but I'm still interested in what's going on there. Some of it from an outsider perspective, just watching the evolution of this.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's some fans in that position.
Yeah.
But certainly there's some that now have maybe reacquainted themselves with the game and will be fans for life.
The funny thing, though, too, is when I told you this when I first got here before we started, the biggest thing I noticed, too, was press row, like the photography row. I didn't have to compete for because all the spots are assigned. And last year, there were 2 rows of assigned seats. This year, there's 1 row, and not everything was full. So I got My pick, I'm right on the baseline instead of being in the second row because I'm not with Getty or USA Today. So my publication is secondary. But I noticed there are probably 30% less media people covering Iowa. But that's to be said. You can't have NBC and USA Today at every game.
So they do have a drop off then in from a PR standpoint.
Yeah.
But they're still getting mentioned everywhere. And there's a lot of games being covered on Big Ten primary that wouldn't have been typically.
Yeah.
Still a bunch pushed over to Big Ten Plus, obviously.
Yeah.
I think they're all covered between Big Ten Plus. I think all the games have coverage.
Yeah.
But still, they're getting free publicity for what happened. People are watching them, interested. The team started out good from what I see. Like they're undefeated so far, but the opponents are. It's
early. I mean, if they get into the Big Ten season and beat some of these teams that are really, really good and they develop into a good, then I think you have 2 or 3 more years where it's a sellout every year. I just wonder. I mean, it's no secret that Iowa men's basketball is good but not great, and probably isn't going to be great anytime soon. So it's like the women are going to outdraw the men for the foreseeable future.
Oh yeah.
Does the university, the biggest thing I don't see that blows my mind is if I'm at an Iowa women's game, there is one kiosk that's about as big as this table, which is not that big, to buy gear for 15,000 people. They do not I mean, granted, you can buy gear online everywhere and every hawk shop and all that, but I can't imagine how much more money moms and dads would drop there if there was more merch available. It blows my mind that University of Iowa doesn't just like push it down your throat. Because at a football game, you can buy it in any corner of the stadium. It's nuts to me. They're missing out on thousands of dollars in money, which I'm glad because I don't need to buy my kid any more stuff. She's got enough Hawkeye gear to last her, but they're missing out on it. It's like they don't want to take people's money, evidently.
Yeah, that whole concourse has trouble serving when they're at capacity. But from an organizational standpoint, though, I'm watching because this team still seems to be going okay. So the superstar in has left it in a better place.
Yeah,
and I think business owners have a massive fear. It's one of the least favorite parts of business is HR and team members coming and going and losing talent and all that. It's a necessary part of the game, though. Like I think lifelong employees are gone.
It's super rare. Well, and even Caitlin Clark, if you're talking about like she could have come back for another season this year, but why she had everything? She didn't have anything to accomplish, so she left. I mean, 4 years is a long time in college, but you're right. There are no lifelong employees. I mean, I have a 24-year-old daughter, a year and a half out of college. She's on her second job already.
Yeah, with
a $30,000 pay increase in the second job. I'm like, yeah, good work, nice job. Maybe you should pay your own student loans now. I don't know. And when translating to business, when an A player leaves, I mean, it's really the owner's job to keep the rest of the team from like, oh no, with doom and gloom. It's, whether you replace them with another A player or you just elevate the B plus or A players that are still there.
Like both happened, right? So they arguably got more A players and access to talent because of the culture that they built during the Clark time. And, I'm probably taking away from something that was building a much longer, but exponentially
it was built.
With
yeah,
her, right?
I mean, I think it was a good program that had some notoriety, but like Caitlin Clark's an anomaly. She was like, the Beatles coming to America. It was a huge thing. So how do you keep that? And like I said, Iowa could be at whatever level going forward that is nowhere near where it was with Caitlin Clark and still be heads and shoulders above other programs.
So they built that culture. Like there's still girls on the team that were part of it and saw it and bring back the culture of the team and the lessons and the stories, which will now be like the legends. The different people stepped into shoes that are missing, which is weird. And I was telling you, like the announcers on TV, like, continue talking about last year, right?
Yeah.
So people have to step into that roles and make something for themselves. There's new faces. It's like there always is.
But that means there's opportunity. That's the thing. People are like, oh no, so-and-so's gone. But there are opportunities.
I mean, in athletics, there's like a roster, right? It's not growing. We're not going to have 30 people on the team now all of a sudden. But in business, you could grow to that. So you got to have that culture established. Certainly, you're going to see new faces, sometimes by choice, sometimes not by choice. Part of the game. But I think everyone has walked into a better place because of that superstar. But the superstar had coaching and structuring and everything like that. Otherwise, you would have had, as much as she could do a lot, like,
True.
She was known for not only the crazy shots, but the assists. Like, that's what made her the anomaly. She had both, which set the team up, I think, for a lot more success here without her.
Well, the other anomaly she had was that she, like, no matter, they could have been the best team in women's basketball for the last 10 years and still not had anywhere near the publicity. She was such an anomaly from a marketing and look at the ratings for last year during the playoffs, the NCAA playoff, tournament, or the WNBA. I mean, she's not the only reason, but I don't care what anyone in the WNBA says. Like, if it wasn't for Caitlin Clark, none of that would have happened this year. And I mean, the people that have been there forever who feel like they need to have their reward, like, hey, you should be happy she's here. Otherwise, you would still be in a sport that 92% of Americans don't pay attention to.
Well, yeah, and I think businesses, most of them have a period in time where the stars seem to align for them. And some just let it go away.
Well, that's the thing. How do you? Because it's never going to stay that way forever. What do you do? Either that's the thing. The Iowa and the coaching staff, they were pretty. I mean, like, they didn't think, well, we know she's going to come back for a fifth. They were prepared if she was going to graduate and go on. What are we going to do next year if she doesn't come back for that extra year? It wasn't like they waited until she said no and then thought, well, what do we do now?
They were hoping for someone like her to come along for decades, probably.
Yes, exactly.
And you don't always get them right, but when you do, you got to maximize that opportunity and figure out how to carry that momentum. And I guess that's the best word, momentum, right? The program has momentum right now. And we talk about this with the sales team all the time. Certainly in business, there's sales momentum. And when it's gone, it's tough. And when it's there, it's very easy to just celebrate and quit pushing on it.
Well, and some of that momentum, though, too, is the correlation, like the Iowa Hawkeye season ticket holder base is like your customers. They're still, like, saying, we know Caitlin Clark's gone, but we're going to still invest in this because we think it might be exciting. Like, when your customers are you're right, when things are going well and your customers are spending money and giving you great referrals and you have to push forward because there's going to come a day when there will be a lull. You have to be able to take advantage of that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people fail to do that, or they assume that what they're experiencing, while it occurred based on what happened in the past, they assume that they completely caused all factors on it and it's going to continue that way.
Yeah, that it won't stop.
And it'd be great. It doesn't always happen that way. So got to prepare, got to have the plan, because there's always a new day. Sun goes down at some point, but it will rise again. And I think that everyone's better for capturing that momentum at some point in time. And you gotta have your coaching hat on, right? You gotta have your athletic director program hat on. From
you gotta recognize.
Level, right?
Sometimes when you're in the middle of it, it's so exciting you don't even think about it. You gotta recognize when you're in the middle of it.
Yeah.
I mean, somewhere along the line, maybe last year, an Iowa coach or an athletic director probably sat and thought to themselves, "This might be the best it's ever going to be. I mean, this is pretty damn good. I mean, but where do we go from here?" It's like makes your job really easy when you have maybe the best player ever to play.
Yeah, but the program's better for it, right? Like, they have done what they can, and they'll continue to do, and they've lost, like, the easy national publicity on every game, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And they're going to have to work harder as a program.
Yep.
It's just like in business when, some star gets out of whack, and I'm not necessarily referring to a person, but it could be.
Yeah.
But really, it's develop the system, get in the rhythm, and capture the freaking momentum when you have it. And it's really easy to lose sight of that, overcomplicate things, and rest when things are going well.
And then you realize how hard you have to work because you rested too much.
And then it's back to grow or die, right?
That's right. Exactly.
I don't think you can sustain. I don't. There was a point in time where I thought it was a thing. I don't anymore.
Yeah.
You're either trying to grow or you're dying. So teams got to grow. They lost a limb. They got to replace it.
They seem to be doing okay for now.
Yeah.
We'll have another episode towards the end of the season. We'll see how it all pans out, but
There's people watching still.
it's true. I'm sure the ratings are still good, and I mean, they're selling tickets, which means they're selling beer, and they're selling ice cream, and they're selling popcorn, and whatever else they sell. They're just not selling merch, evidently.
They can't sell jerseys with Clark on the back end.
Yeah, that's true.
She's back in charge of her own.
That's right. She's got her own money now. But I don't know. Those 8-year-old girls probably want a Lucy Olson or a Hannah Stolke jersey.
Oh, heck. Last episode we talked about that IAPA Expo. The Pop-A-Shot basketball arcade machines.
Oh, yeah.
One of the booths exhibited 3 of them, and one of them was logoed with Indiana Fever.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
WNBA didn't have any logoed video game before. Give me a break.
It's true. You're right. It opens doors that, yeah. Did you pick one? You got one of those in order for the office?
Nah, we don't have the ceiling height for that game, I don't think.
Just knock a wall out. Knock a ceiling out. It's a drop ceiling. Come on. Go out in the shop.
Okay, so we'll be back with episode 58 talking about whether or not we can fit a Pop-A-Shot in here. See you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Tricera-talks podcast. Be sure to subscribe and leave your comments. For more information on how Jurassic Marketing Direct Mail can help grow your business, visit JurassicMarketing.com.